All right, I'm going to share a new spin on an objection that people commonly get in the final expense insurance world. And this is the I can't expense it, I'm sorry, I can't afford it or it's too expensive objection. And before we go into how to skillfully handle this objection, I think it's really important to kind of gain some context and from my point of view as to why you're getting this objection in the first place. So first and foremost, I think one of the most obvious reasons people get this objection is because they're quoting too high. And I know this happens all the time because if you're talking to someone and they're wanting to have enough coverage to pay for a cremation and they're living on SSI or SSDI and they barely have any money at the end of the month, and you come out of the gates throwing out a 10 or 15 or $20,000 policy to these people, it is going to be too expensive. It's going to be unaffordable, and you're automatically going to lose trust because now they don't really feel like you've listened to them. You're giving them quotes for things A, they don't need, and B, is going to be too expensive. Like, you have to be sensitive to the fact that the people you're talking to are living on a very fixed income for the most part. And if you start too high, that trust is going to be broken and it's really hard to recover from that. So that's one reason why you're getting a price objection, is because you're just starting too high, right? You can always go up. And yes, you can always go down, but it's much easier to go up than it is to go down. You don't want someone to fall out of their chair and get sticker shock right out of the gate. So the second reason, of course, you're getting it's too expensive or I can't afford it is if they don't see any value. And so that gap where the affordability and the value come in place, it's too wide. They don't really see any value in what you're doing, or they don't see the true value in having final expense insurance or anything else that you've provided, or you've done way too much talking and they've tuned you out and they're ready to move on to the next call. There's so many reasons why you can avoid objections from happening in the first place. In fact, I really can't even remember the last time I can't afford it objection, because all my quotes are very realistic to what I believe these people can afford, because I've done a really good job in my discovery section in figuring out who these people are, what they want, what they need, what's realistic, and to make sure that I'm sensitive to that. So that way they know that I can help them. So I am going to share my screen and I'm going to show you what I recommend my agents use to overcome the it's too expensive, I can't afford it objection. And you'll notice a pattern. We're always wanting to start with, yeah, that's not a problem. Tell me though, if it was more affordable, is this something you would want to have? And you see the difference in my tonality. Tonality is really important and really key in delivering a script in general, as opposed to tell me if it was more affordable, is this something you would want to have, right? It just doesn't sound the same. So yeah, that's not a problem. Just tell me if it was more affordable, is this something you would want to have? The customer, hopefully they will say yes. Okay, so if they do say yes, now you have to ask them why. Well, why do you feel like it would help you? You have to ask the why questions, because when you ask the why questions, now not only are they going to tell you why final expense insurance will help them and their family, but they're also going to say it out loud so they tell themselves. Okay, so now they've told you why they feel like it would help them. Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. And I really understand where you're coming from. And, I would really love to try and help you figure this out. But tell me, how do you think you could possibly, resolve this issue so you could find some room in your budget in order to make sure that your family doesn't have to come out of pocket and pay for these cremation costs when you do pass? So now you're going to help them do some critical thinking. How do they think that they can resolve this problem? You could do that by maybe Are there other things they're spending money on that they could maybe forego? Maybe we need to look at a smaller policy size, but this is their part to try to do some critical thinking on their own. How do you think you could possibly resolve that? So you could find some room in the budget in order to get the policy that you said you wanted, so you're not a burden on them when you do pass. If they don't know, okay, well, what other avenues do you have to maybe find some extra money so that you can insert the reasons that they said they want it, so that you can take care of the cost of cremation and the urn and the service and all the expenses that might come up for your family when you do pass? Okay, what if they don't have any? And maybe they have unrealistic expectations, right? Maybe they want a $20,000 policy, but they can only afford 3,000. So here's the point where you say, can I, maybe make a suggestion? Sure, because you're asking permission, right? You want to get those mini invitations. Have you, maybe considered reducing the amount of coverage so that it's more manageable for you and still possibly eases the burden, that's inevitable when you do pass, as opposed to leaving your family with nothing at all? Would that help give you some peace of mind? So the way that we are going about these objections and everything that we've posted is to help your client overcome their own objection by answering questions that maybe no one else is going to ask them, that maybe people don't know how to ask, or they feel uncomfortable. And so they just move on to the next person instead of really taking the time to help the person you have right now. So I hope that helps. Go ahead and use it. And thank you again for continuing to post such nice comments on some of these videos that I have. It really does make my day every time I see a YouTube notification and someone posts something so incredibly, nice and humbling. I just want to thank each and every one of you for doing that. And I really am grateful that I have this platform to be able to help and provide additional tools that you might not have with your upline or the company that you're with. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My contact information is below.